Glory, glory, I see you on the throne. I've seen the grass wither, I've seen the flower fade, but your word, it stands forever. Through all my days, and I'm trying hard now to find it. Through the fire and the quake, just to hear of a whisper, for the taste of your grace. Glory, oh glory, I see you on the throne. Glory, hallelujah, your love will overcome. Oh, I've danced with the darkness.
For those of you guys who don't know, we started this podcast as we were rebuilding the biggest project of our life, a 25,000 square foot building in downtown Laurel. It's the culmination, 20 years of work. It's something we've been wanting a long time, a hotel to serve our community. And we were at the finish line, moments away from opening it.
Yeah. I mean, we're 30 days. I mean, I think we were pushing for an October 1 opening, but that was still, we were hoping there or about. Now on the back end of this tragedy, I look back and think, why? Some mornings I wake up and I think to myself, why did we even try to do that? And every episode that we've done so far, we've talked about the value of building something and the value of having a dream and contributing and everybody's perspective. Our guests have given their perspectives on that. And yet here we are. And I'm telling you, it's really tough to look back and try to see what's going to come from this.
We started construction on the hotel in April of 2024. But we were planning it for 6 months ahead of that. We got the building and we're ready to do the project. And I awoke to my wife beside my bed at just before 6 a.m. saying, Josh, the hotel's on fire. Just like that.
I got a text from John Diggins, who owns the loft. If you've been to Laurel, you've had the loft's incredible steaks. It's a really great place. But I get a text from John Diggins like 5:30, and or you know what? Maybe it was 5:50 because I'm pretty sure Emily found out about the same time. But it was. I remember thinking, he was calling, and I was thinking to myself, what a weird time to be pocket dialing me.
I wish.
But immediately it hit me. I'm like, something's wrong. Isn't that the worst time to get a phone call?
Man.
At that early, like it's almost never good.
Yeah.
And he that's all he said was, the hotel's on fire, get down there. And that, I'm telling Mallory, I'm sure Mallory called Emily, but we get down there, and cause I'm holding out hope when the hotel's on fire. That can mean a lot of different things. And I'm just holding out hope that, you know what, maybe he was driving by, nobody's there, and he just happened to see something like maybe smoke coming out of something small, manageable. And I get down there, and it is anything but small and manageable.
Yeah. Yeah, I come a little bit after you, and when Emily woke me up, I knew I woke up at 3 that morning, and I get up early, and a lot of times I'll go and work on something, whether it's business work on the computer, or I'll go. I actually at 3 a.m. I woke up and I thought, okay, I could go install some ceiling grids. I need to get that done. I said, I should go do that. And I said, no, I've got a really long day today. I'm going to read instead, and maybe I'll fall back asleep. And so, so I didn't. That's what I woke up a little bit later. So it's 6 o'clock, and I get down there just after 6 a.m. And I pull up, and you know, I've been tasked with building the building, and it's been my responsibility to build it. And so every day I'm like, I've got to do these things, got to do this things, do this thing, do this thing. This was a moment I was like, I know this is up to the fire department at this point. There's nothing that I can do. And so I walk up, park a little bit away, walk up, and I see they've got the ladder truck up and are beginning to try to spray water. It was so painful to watch.
I thought to myself a couple times during that whole morning, there were 3 instances where my stomach was just hardened. I mean, it's just, I don't know how else to explain it, but the whole knots in your stomach thing, like that's a real thing. And throughout the morning, watching this fire take over was just really difficult to watch, because what's happening along the way is when you live something every day for 2 years, 2 years, this has been, if not a part of our daily activity, a part of our daily conversation, and certainly on our minds every day.
Yeah.
How are we going to finish in time? Are we going to be on budget? Are we going to be successful?
Are people going to want to stay?
Is all of this risk we're taking, is it worth it? And is it going to hurt us? You know, I think a lot of times people don't know the perspective of a developer. You know, a lot of times we go through town, and maybe it's on vacation even, and we go like, oh, somebody should do this, or they ought to build a hotel here. Great in thought, but in action, it's a whole nother equation. And for 2 years, when you're playing out that equation of, is it the right thing to do? Is it worth it? Should we be doing this? Is the reward versus the risk? Is
it too risky? Yeah.
Is there a reward at all? And to get almost to the point of finding out. That's not the thing. It wasn't a finish line. We just needed more than anything to get open to find out those answers.
Yeah.
And before we could even get to knowing the answer to all of these questions that we've had and all the stress that we've had for 2 years, it's almost like literally it's going up in smoke right in front of us.
Yeah.
And now that has started this whole new chapter of challenge and stress. And also, quite frankly, something that a lot of people don't understand. There have been those of you out there who have been supportive and encouraging. Let me tell you something. We read every message, and Josh responds to most of them. I just read them. And this is my time to say thank you for the encouraging words that you've given us, the support that you've given us, whether it be from emails, texts, phone calls, comments on this YouTube channel, comments on Facebook. And the reason it is so meaningful is because not everybody feels this way. There have been instances where people have been critical of what we've done, how we've done it, why we've done things, and even critical of an accident or what has been out of our control. And I'm going to tell you, when you take something as personally as we have on this project, when you hear and see someone comment in a negative way, really, really takes a toll. And so the fact that there have been more encouraging words and more supportive words than negative means the world to us. And however we've made it this 30 days has in a large part been because of the support we've had. And honestly, how we proceed from here, I think will depend on that circle of support, even if we've never met you. So thank you for that.
Man, I mean, it's insane. We went to just the amount of support. It was incredible. In fact, I doubt that I've read all the messages, both text messages, phone calls. you sweat and you work so hard to build something, and you hope that it means something to your family, to your friends, to your community, and to see those words of support. We have people from France writing and calling, people from Australia. I've never been. I don't even, you've been when you were young.
Good people. Good people.
So, I mean, it's absolutely incredible to see the support. And I'm very grateful for that, because, this isn't like just an accounting thing. This is a work of our heart, our passion. It came out of a love for our town and wanting to see a place, a community for our children to grow up in. And that's what we have been building. And to see people that it means something to you, and you live in St. Louis, or you live in California, and you live in Oregon, you live in Alabama, that is huge for us. And I'm very grateful for that. And that to me is one blessing that I saw pretty quickly after the fire. It just overwhelmed me, the support that we had, and I'm very grateful for that.
Also, not just support, but the true love that we've seen, especially here locally. There have been so many people, especially family. Man, my mom and dad have been incredibly. I've realized the love and care a parent has isn't just for the early years.
Yeah.
Here I'm 43 next week, and my mom and dad, I swear it's
she's our number one podcast listener. She knows that we podcast practice all the time.
We get a lot of practice.
But no, not only, and what's so fun about that for me is I'm not their son, but the love they showed you, they also showed me, and your dad's kind words on Facebook. It was just so special to see. It meant so much. And then, like, remember we went to eat at Los Primos, fantastic Mexican restaurant here in town. We go
Nacho
and eat.
Gabo.
We go and eat a few days after the fire, and Gabo, a good friend, he comes up to me and Mallory and Jim, and I think Emily was there too, my wife, and he says, "I want you to know that I want to help you guys work at the hotel to clean it up." And we said, "Gabo, thank you. That means so much." And he said, "No, I'm serious.
When do we start?
I want to come and help you work." And we said, "Thank you." And he said, "No, I'm telling you, I want to." And he kept on. And eventually I was like, he's serious. He really wants to come and help clean up. And and then after we ordered, he didn't charge us.
He pays for dinner or pays for lunch.
It was one of those, and that's the thing, like, it just meant so much to us. Yeah, our community.
Local billboard operator, Trailhead Media.
Cry.
We as we're having that lunch, I get a text from somebody that had seen the billboard that Trailhead Media, the company that owns the billboards, a lot of billboards here in town, had put up on one of their busiest billboard streets on 16th Avenue, a picture of the hotel, and it says, we rebuild together. And it's like, man, you want to talk about the loneliness of watching this building burn is unlike any you've ever experienced. But then the very opposite of that, just days in of knowing you're not alone at all. You've got a community around you. Matter of fact, I want to share something with you.
Do it.
All right. So this is a letter. I haven't shared this with you.
I'm a little nervous.
All right. Dear Mallory, Jim, and Josh, first of all, my wife Melissa and I want to tell you how sorry we are about the fire. We've never met, but Melissa and I stayed at the cottage last summer while your family was in Normandy. It goes on to say, anyway, I'm old enough that I don't like to like or have Facebook or Instagram. I'm with you. I don't know that that's an age-based thing. So I had no other way to reach you. I am a retired plumber, previously licensed in multiple states. Although I'm older, I believe I could still help to rebuild the hotel. If you need an extra body, you guys are like family to us because we've been watching you for so long. We've already booked our next stay in your cottage. Hopefully, we can meet face to face. My offer to you 5 good people is sincere. So if there's anything I can do plumbing wise or management wise, or even swinging a hammer, please reach out to me. It would be my privilege and pleasure to help you in the town of Laurel.
Wow.
And that was from John and Melissa. Thank you.
It is like, it's been incredible. And honestly, plumbers are hard to find. So maybe I'll look up John.
Might need you.
Yeah. I tell you one other group that I wanted to thank. I mean, I've worked on the windows on the side of the building a little bit, and I've been in the boom lift a lot. My boom lift is 55 feet when you're up in the air. And just so you know, when you're at 55 feet, even in a 17,000 pound machine, you move like this and it just keeps on moving this way. Then it keeps on moving this way. And then it moves this way. It's very nerve wracking. Even if you're harnessed in, when we put the sign up,
it is.
When we rode up in the crane,
Ugh.
even though we had our handrail and we were anchored, it's very nerve wracking. To see a fireman climb a ladder 55 plus feet up into the air with a giant fire hose, which if you were to hold that fire hose, it just has enough pressure just to throw your way.
Yeah.
To see him climb up there, and that ladder's going to be doing this as he's trying to run that fire hose. Mm-hmm. I was so thankful that men in our community would risk their lives, not for lives. The hotel was empty, thank God, but for property.
Yeah.
To see that bravery. And a lot of people, it's just so easy because you just look up and you see a guy on a ladder but 55, 60 feet in the air, it's high.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for the Laurel Fire Department for
Absolutely.
their response, for the men especially, those men that were working so hard.
They were working hard, and there was a moment where, I wasn't thinking. I've never been a firefighter, and maybe I should go through some training. But
You need a lot of training.
Yeah, you don't know the gear and the weight of all of that. I mean, it's serious. And so, I don't know. A couple hours in, I'm seeing the guys that have been working, like they've been trying to get this fire under control. And there's a couple of guys out there, they're having to take a break and like visibly out of breath. They've
soaking wet with sweat. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, gosh, man, these guys are so important to a community and all of our emergency services. And so thank you to the emergency services out there that are here in Laurel, but in every small town, and in a lot of cases, volunteers that go above and beyond for their own community. So thank those guys for sure.
At 6 that morning, we're watching 2 years of work burn. And again, I think to people to understand, and we had just filmed an HGTV show, 4 episodes about the hotel transformation. In that show, you're going to see a little bit of the financial stress that we were under to build this project. So this again is the culmination of 20 years of work. And it's, what Jim and I have done is we've bought a lot of real estate in downtown Laurel when people didn't want it. And we took a lot of risks to redo a small building, and then a little bit bigger building, and a little bit bigger building, and a little bit bigger building, a little bit bigger. We've done this for 20 years. This was the culmination of all of that work, 20 years of work. Our entire fortune is tied up in debt, more than our.
I was about to say, I don't know. That's a big word.
Let me say it
fortune.
this way, fortune. Let me say fortune maybe in the Greek sense. When we passed by a guy the other day on a bicycle, I think Jim said something like, he's worth about $5 million more than I am. Yeah, because that project was a massive project for us. So we're seeing that burn. We're thankful. First, I'm thankful that none of my men were there yet. Nobody's hurt. Nobody's in the hotel. That's the first thing. But you are watching your work, lifetime work, burn. And that's a very hard thing to see because there's no certainty of what's going to happen on the other side. No matter what people believe, there's no certainty of what's going to happen next.
Yeah, that's right. And also, let's talk about the economics of that for a second, because I don't know that people really have a firm understanding of what it's like to develop a piece of real estate. I think in a lot of big cities, it takes a lot of big money to redevelop a piece of property. But due to economies of scale, developments in large cities can cash flow, big liabilities, big cost. In a small town, it's really hard. It's really hard to have a positive cash flow for any piece of real estate. Meaning, if you've got a building that if you live in a town that there's a vacant building downtown, and let's say it's $300,000, what's going to need probably $1 million worth of work just to get it to where you could rent it out. If you rent it out and you don't have $1.3 million, you go to the local bank, they give you $1.3 million to renovate the structure, and you rent it out. Well, the note to pay the bank is going to be probably around $10,000 a month. And meaning you've got to rent it out, not just to cover your mortgage, but you're going to have utilities, you're going to have taxes, you're going to have insurance. If you're doing it for more than just fun, just because you love your town and you want to do it, you probably want to build in a little profit there. It's really difficult to find businesses that can rent out that structure, especially in a small town. And so for a developer, especially in a small town, to go out on a limb like that, it's very risky. And so I would say why there probably hasn't been a hotel in downtown Laurel in the last 60 years, 70 years, because of the amount of money it takes to put it in there, to get it to where it needs to be. And of course we had to take debt. We're sitting over here taking debt out on the thought that on the backside of this, that we will be able to cash flow all this obligation. We'll be able to pay for it over time. And that was certainly one of the knots in my stomach that morning.
Yeah, because
knowing now what?
Yeah,
what do we do?
Because one more little piece of information. So the fire happened on a Tuesday. That weekend we had opened our online booking for 2026. So we had just turned on online booking, meaning that after 2 years of planning, a year and a half of construction, of using our money to stretch it out, working with the banks and all the things you do to build a commercial project, as most of you know, a lot of you know, all that work was finally turned on to start actually bringing in on the revenue side, which you need to pay for and service debt. So we were so excited that we just turned that on. And so it happened, I think, Friday or Saturday. And so Tuesday that happened. We'd already had so many people book, which again, it's just one of those.
Thank you.
It's just one of those things where it shows how people outside of our town care about our town. It means so much to us. And so we walked in. One of the first orders of business was to stop booking, refund those rooms immediately. And I think one of the messages, people have been asking how they can help. People wanted to book anyway. And that was so kind and thoughtful. And,
right.
And it just means so much to us, because it shows us that we're not alone in this dream, this heirloom dream that we were building here in our town. And so thank you guys for that.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there. There's nothing I can do. The firemen are professionals at it. They're doing the best they can. And I saw the floors. I saw how slow it feels when you're there. I said, I'm going home. I need to go home and take my kids to school every day. I said, I'm going home to take my kids to school. And so I walk into my dining room, and my kids are my breakfast room. They're sitting there eating breakfast. I have 4 children, Sam, Teddy, Irene, and Nora, all blue eyes except for Sam, hazel eyes. So anyway, they're all sitting at the breakfast table, and I said, guys, the building that I've been working on for a year and a half is on fire. And their eyes just got huge, just because they've been seeing Daddy get up early.
Right there with us.
They've been seeing Dad stay late. They've been praying that they would pray. Irene would pray, and God, I pray that Dad wouldn't be stressed about the hotel because of deadlines and needing to finish. And so they saw the work that their dad had been doing, and you, of course, too, and your girls know this as well. And so in that moment, those big eyes looked at me, and I said, the hotel that I've been working on for a year and a half, it's on fire. And I saw first, as I see those big eyes look at me, I thought, it's just stuff. These children here are a much more important legacy and heirloom than a building. So the first thing I thought. And then my Sam, my oldest son, he's sensitive. He's 10. He started crying. And I said, this is what legacy is. It's not the building of the hotel. It's when you lose the thing, what will you do now? And so he starts crying. And I said, son, God gave me the strength to build it one time. And if he's pleased to do it again, I'll build it again. And you could see the weight on their shoulders just say, oh, that's what we do with adversity. That's what we do when there's a challenge that we can't overcome. We just get back to work.
And so that's why you're thankful and you have perspective on things like this, because when you have moments like this, you say, no matter how bad it is, this is a moment where in the future, and when things are okay and we look back on this moment, we can say that we handled it the right way. And what a great opportunity to have that with your kids.
Yeah. And then later that day I went crazy. So.
Yeah. They weren't watching this.
Yeah, no. I did that in the bathroom by myself on the floor crying.
Exactly. But that morning, speaking of kids, because I take the girls to school every morning, and so this whole thing starts at like 5 a.m. For us, it was like 6 a.m. Well, by like 7:30, well, you're getting into school time now, and it's like your obligations for the day are starting.
They come on no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah. And man, an absolute angel was on the sidewalk with us. It was like I knew you left at some point, but also I thought maybe I saw you again. I was walking around the building. You were walking around
the other way. So we were passing each other.
Exactly. So, but at some point I was on the sidewalk. Mallory was there. Laurel PD was there, and the Jones County Sheriff's Department. And I got to know them pretty well too. And, but Caroline Burks, director for Laurel Main Street, she was there. Early on, I don't know exactly what point she got there, but as far as city advocates and ambassadors for the city of Laurel, she's fantastic. She's a great one, and she was there on the sidewalk with us. And it's something about a moment like that. I don't know, my brain just got hyper focused on the building only, like that. That's all I could think about, and she kept asking me, what can I do to help with the girls? And I just kept saying yes. and I could not put into organization in my mind, like, okay, you go get Lucy, or go take Lottie to school for me, or anything like that. She was waiting for, like, just tell me what to do and I'll go do it right now because it needs to be done right now. And I'm just saying yes. And so finally she just like basically grabbed me and said, I'm going to get Lottie, and you need to take care of Lucy. And I said, okay. And she left, and then out of nowhere, there's my dad.
I passed him on the way out.
No, I did. Like, I don't know who called these people. I don't know how they knew, but as I turned, there's my dad, and I don't know if he's heard my reaction or my discussion with Caroline or what, but he said, I'll go get Lucy. And it was like that. So obligation number one for the day, completely taken care of by the people around me. And, which for better or worse allowed me to continue to hyper-focus on the building. And so, I was asked to go home, by the local officials, but I said, no, I want to stay. I want to stay. And
Jim would just like to offer an apology, I'm sure, to that young police officer.
Well, it's a volatile moment.
No, one reason I left is because, because I can't they're not going to let me go
I
up the
know,
fire truck. I
I
would
know.
have.
It's-
If they just would have asked me, I would have loved to, but I don't know what I'm doing. They do.
Yeah.
And it was best for someone of my personality just to
Yes.
leave. I just needed to leave.
And I told someone in leadership with the fire department that I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to put fires out, but I got some advice. But no.
And that's when the young officer came and talked to you.
And he gave me some advice. and that's fine. You know, it's fine.
It was
all is well.
It was a heated moment.
Yeah.
That day, it's just almost a blur, and that's as you start talking about it, you remember it, and it is almost just as horrible to go through it. But now like, my memory kind of marks those high marks of like Caroline helping with the girls, your dad showing up, my kids facing the peace and relief they found, and
Somebody else, and we've talked about him before on the podcast. My cousin Clark, Aaron's brother. He texted and said, you okay? And yeah, I'm fine. Everything's gonna be okay. We had one of the most heartfelt, genuine conversations we've ever had a few days later. And, it's tragedy. And that was a tragedy. I mean, it was just a very dramatic, difficult thing that we're continuing to try to figure out how we're going to work through it. But another great thing that has happened because of it is the genuine conversations that we've been able to have with friends and family that, sometimes we take for granted that there are people in our lives, all of us, that there are people in our lives that care for us more than we know.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes a difficult situation for that to show itself.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful that that conversations like that have happened, because it's always good to tell people that care for you and you care for them, that you're there for them and that you love them.
So some people have asked questions like, how I remember early on someone was asking like, how are you handling this so well? And I was like, well, maybe it's just the moment and I'm handling it well. But I would like to talk about some things that I have learned and what helped me to have perspective even there in that day of the fire and after the fire. The first moment of perspective was seeing my children, knowing that my treasure is not in the building, that there's things way more valuable on earth, here on earth, like my children, over a property. But ultimately, it's my faith in God. I know that God is sovereign over all things, that he controls all things. That is, that he either allows it or he causes it. So I knew immediately that the affliction is the word I would probably use for this, that has come upon us both, has been allowed by God.
Yeah.
And that for me brings in a great peace, because the same God who has the power to not let the affliction come or to allow the affliction is the God who has promised in the scriptures to work all things for good for those who love him. So immediately I in my prayers and in my spiritual life, I'm thinking, I don't know what you're doing. This is hard. It was, had I known you were doing this, Father, I wouldn't have worked on it. That's the way I thought about it. I was like, I wouldn't have done it. I would not have built it. I would not have got up at 3 a.m. so many mornings. I just would not have done it. But I had to say, okay, 5 years from now, maybe I'll see what he was doing.
Yeah.
And now I may not in this life. I don't know how it's going to end. People ask, what's next? We're not sure. We're just going to keep doing the same thing we've been doing from the beginning, and that's keep building. Yeah. That's what we said. That was our early statement. That's what we are going to keep doing. And so my faith in God and my trust in Jesus Christ. And I told a friend, she asked like, how are you handling this so well? And again, it's like, maybe it's just in this moment I'm handling it well. But, when you think about faith, and particularly Jesus Christ, we have in him a man who defeated death. And we by faith also will defeat death. So when death is defeated, other tragedies and other hardships, they're serious, but they're like, that thing has been taken care of by Christ. And absolutely, that's my hope.
And the gospel talks about that, and about one of the things that, so I read a verse of the day website every morning, and it was almost like, maybe it's one of those things where you read into something and apply it to your own life more so during certain circumstances. But my goodness, for the last 30 days, it's almost like the every verse that I read every morning is so impactful. But it's especially things like 23rd Psalm that where God's saying to us, just keep going. I got you. Like, follow my will. I got you. I'm clearing a path for you. You may not understand it right now, but take peace in that. And my goodness, that's the peace. If there's any peace at all about this whole thing, because every day we were just talking about how it's almost like the fire just keeps burning. It's like it never goes out, because every day there's a new challenge. Every day there's something else that we've got to work through. And I'm telling you, insurance is good to have, but it's also the process of going through that is very difficult.
It's not easy,
fun.
and it's not easy at all.
It's not easy. And even if it does work out, some people have said, I'd be finally got insurance.
That is not how it works.
We do have insurance, but you know what? There's a lot more time and energy and effort and money that goes into something than what an insurance policy would ever cover.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. The point is that every day there's a challenge. And whether you're dealing with a tragedy or not, we all have a challenge every day. No day is perfect. And I think the piece for me has been, hey, the plan has already been decided. I just got to follow God's will on this, and He does work everything out for His good, for our good. For it's that is the peace that I have in knowing that, there's going to be a challenge tomorrow, and who knows where we'll be. The whole idea of what's your plan.
We had a plan to open a hotel in a few days. That was the plan.
Literally, only God knows that, because to get through today is the plan. But there's a peace, for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely, and that comes in again in faith. But then something else happened too during that week. And this is good practical advice. Our friend Butch Wilmore, astronaut that was stuck in space for 10 months. He was counseling a friend many years ago who was going through a really hard thing. And the friend called him and asked, what should he do? And Butch said, go find somebody to serve. Go find somebody worse off than you and serve them, is what Butch said as advice to take his mind off. And so after the fires, the day the fire happened, as bad as it is to lose property, we have a lady in our church, her baby was in NICU that week with lungs weren't developed. We have another couple in our church. Their baby, their 10-year-old has been having seizures his entire life, and they cannot get answers on it. And so I focused on praying for other people who were in deep affliction and tragedy, and hopeful that there is I can rebuild a building. We can rebuild a building, but I cannot fix the lungs of my newborn.
Absolutely,
right?
Especially things that revolve children. I met somebody that had lost a daughter. And here just in the last couple of weeks, and man, you want to talk about perspective?
Yeah,
brick and mortar and all that stuff doesn't matter. I mean, we'll figure it out, and we're gonna get through it. By God's grace and will, we'll get through it. But the things that matter in life, that's really where I need to be hyper focused.
It's just so providential that we chose the Heirloom as the name of the hotel and this podcast and media that we're making. And the focus has always been on legacy. So we asked the question, what are we building that's going to last? And we really never meant the buildings. We meant something more. And it's just, I never expected it to be so obvious that the Lord would bring it.
Isn't it so obvious?
I know.
But also, too, when we're talking about it in the past, we have been talking about the the project,
the physical project, because it is part of your legacy, right?
Exactly. And honestly, there here in the last couple of years, it's gotten to where that has been such a priority that you know, I'm not going to say that I haven't put that in my forefront of my brain of like, okay, this really matters. This is so important, and it. Back to what is really important. It's not it, but that heirloom brand that we've been talking about. Yeah, who knew that this would be the definition of it?
Yeah, well, and that's so it's like we were exploring legacy in all its different formats, whether it's with a musician or an astronaut or a stay-at-home mom. That's what we're doing. We're trying to find, of all the things that we do in life, all the temporary things that we do every day, what is the most important? What's going to last? And of course, there's a building that's a symbol of that. But even in the building, it's the men that we work beside, Mr. Jack and Eric, to build the building, Marciano and Talon, those men. It's the children helping us poly the floors on the first floor when we did the store, and getting our children to learn what it's like to do work. And it was very messy work, but they did good work.
And maybe that's something that I'm realizing now more than ever, is that I always knew the building. You knew. We both know.
Yeah.
Whatever we build physically is not going to last.
Yeah.
You know, it may last beyond us, but in the big scheme of things, it ain't going to last.
Right.
And what's more important, a depreciating physical structure or the lessons that we're able to pass on? And you know what? Maybe it's the things that our kids build that in a way is our legacy too, but it's their passion, their motivation, their character, their personality, the things that we are helping them develop now. And the fact that, again, this is a awful thing that has happened, but if we use it in the right way, again, we're using that as an heirloom in a way. That is our legacy. And man, I wish we could do that in a different way, but hey,
you don't get to pick. And you know, one of the legacy marks too is like going through this affliction. First, building it has been both challenging and rewarding. Like how much I've enjoyed to work with Mallory. And I need to say, like, I work hard to build, but Mallory has worked so hard on the colors and the designs and the fabrics and the stock and the curtains that we
working
ordered.
with suppliers.
Yeah.
It's one thing to pick it out. It's a whole nother thing to develop a relationship with the supplier that's going to stand behind it, and creating relationships with the partners and yeah.
So working beside her has been a great joy for me. It's been, again, that's a legacy thing that was because of the building we were doing it, but there was something more happening there, a friendship with Mallory. And so I'm so grateful for her hard work. And that was another reason I couldn't be there, how heartbroken Mallory was.
She was devastated.
She was devastated. Yeah, it was terrible to see. But yeah, so that's the thing about legacy. You seem like you're doing something else. You're just putting up the dishes, washing the dishes, but you fed the family and you had family time in that very natural and normal thing. And you're going to do it again the next day, right? It seems like you're just getting up and you're going to work and you're punching the clock to do your duty there at work. But while you're there, there's things, human interactions that are going to last and be meaningful, that are going to go much longer than the job. And so what we knew is that legacy, and what we know is legacy is woven in to all of these things that we do, including building a building and including losing a building. Legacy, the way we handle that and the way we persevere, that's another mark that I would hope is part of my legacy. So it's like, again, we do things of varying value, of different degrees of value, but inside of every one of them, there's legacy moments that's happening.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
I hope that what we're doing to come back from this, that we're doing it the right way. And I don't mean that financially. I hope that we're, it's easy for emotion to take over. as it did that morning. But I hope those opportunities that we have that you're just talking about, I hope that we are taking advantage of those opportunities to be doing it right by the people that care and doing it right by our family.
Yeah.
There's so many decisions that we're having to make every day, that almost every day, that can change the trajectory of the rest of our lives. Right now, it's just a really unique time right now, and maybe that's hard to understand. I don't know that I can even communicate that in a sentence or in a paragraph even, but there are things that are happening right now where what are we going to do? What can we do? What is possible? How literally, if it rains.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about. Yeah, let's actually talk about the practical problem that we face right now. The fire got into the roof structure, and it moved all the way down the roof. And as it was burning the roof, of course, the firemen were putting it out with the fire hose, and so water was getting on everything. And so at this point,
describe the roof. Describe what makes up a roof. Understand.
Yeah, a roof is. So this is a historic building built in 1930, and I want to address. Someone asked on Facebook. This is a local person. I just want to address this. They said, "Why didn't the building have a sprinkler system?" And as a builder, I would say that's a good question. It's a practical question. It didn't. It was built in 1930, and for some reason, this building didn't. Some older buildings do and built in there. I don't understand. This one didn't, but we were installing one. It just wasn't finished yet. So that's a very important question. And yes, it's something we thought about. We knew that this building was left in the 1930s state. We were doing everything, and will continue to do everything, to bring that up to a modern state of safety and all the things that you do in modern construction.
Yeah, we were close to opening, but we weren't open ready.
Yeah.
And to that point, there were several things. The elevator contractor, he came the day after, not knowing about the fire, because the elevator was installed
and on and working. We just had it off, and
you still got to calibrate it. You got to do those finishing touches, and so everything was just so close to being done.
Yeah. So essentially, normally you would have your sprinkler system. You have a smoke system, which would be an alarm system that would warn. The way sprinklers work, they're either based on smoke or they're based on heat usually. And so they would come on. The problem is during the construction phase, they also can flood the building. So you really are turning those on during the process when it's in a position to turn on. But the way the roof structure works, it's a wooden roof structure that was built in the 1930s. It has
specifically that type of wood.
Yeah,
highly flammable.
Yeah, so the building structure goes, there's a steel beam structure until the fourth floor. On the fourth floor base, it moved from steel to post and beam construction, which is I love a post and beam construction. This was pine, and it would have been pretty much heart pine, built from the 1930s, milled in the 30s here, most likely locally milled. And so you had about 60 to maybe 80 posts that held up beams. Then above those beams, there's a decking structure that's made out of, back then they would use 1x6s. Modern day, we use plywood, same substance. And so on that structure is your weather membrane. Usually on a commercial roof, it's a TPO structure. So that goes on the top. That's a top layer. And so the fire moved into the roofing structure, meaning that it got to the decking, that 1x6 pine structure, and pierced the roof, which allowed the fire department to begin to put water to the fire. But it gets so hot so fast, and that pine is so flammable, it just moved up the roof. And I say up, the roof has a pitch to the back because all the water flows to the back. It just moved up the roof all the way to the front as the firemen were working to put it out. And so as it was moving, they were, of course, putting water in the building. And so you end up with a flooding problem as much as a fire problem. But unfortunately, the fire took out the entire decking structure, all the roofing structure. Some of the structural beams are still left, some of the structural posts are still left, but most of the beams are charred. And so those are no longer usable at this point. So what we have is a 4-story building without a roof. And, on a house, if you have a tree that falls on it, normally a house has pitch to it. You have a pitched roof, you can tarp it. We're in a situation where we cannot tarp the roof. When it rains all the way to the 4th floor, down to the 3rd, all the way down to the fourth, or to the first, all the way down to the basement.
We
It's the way.
essentially have a 25,000 square foot brick bowl.
Yes, exactly. And in fact, it's such a tight bowl that the basement was full of water, probably had 10 feet of water in it after the firemen finished their job. And so we are in a state with the building where there is no roof. That's what we know now. So one of our first priorities is to try to roof the building. That before we can do anything, we have to get a roof structure on the building.
But why wouldn't you just go ahead and put a roof on it right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as everything got wet running down, your sheetrock structure, everything is wet and in the way, so we can't actually evaluate what framing structures we can use and not use. And so the first part of the job is called remediation. You remove all of that building material, you get it out of the way, and that actually, these old buildings, we have redone buildings, from the Laurel Mercantile being the first example that I remember. The entire back of the structure didn't have a roof for a long, long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's very common with these old buildings because the water flows to the back. They leak in the back first. And so the wood that they use, the old wood, though it's highly flammable, the roof structure, it's also very dense with sap, so it doesn't receive moisture. So generally, even if it gets wet, it can dry out really well because it doesn't absorb water. With the new building materials, you never plan for those materials to get wet. So of course they just suck up water. So first step is remove all that old material, let the building begin to breathe and dry, and then try to figure out how to roof it.
So
that's the technical problems that we have.
But that's the things that is a perfect example of everyday decisions that are having to be made that are based on things that we don't know what's ahead. And it's really hard. Imagine having to make huge decisions in your life, not knowing all the details of what it takes to make that decision or the consequence of the wrong one.
Yeah.
And that's a tough time to be in.
Yeah. And I lay in bed at night, honestly designing roof structures. That's all I think about. I lay in bed. And so the first thought, I was like, okay, I'll just go to steel. I'll go to the steel. I'll bring steel up. We'll do a new steel structure. Okay. But it's a short structure. It was wood originally. Do we need to go back with wood? You start thinking of that. I was okay. Well, maybe I can save the post. I'll make a steel cap. I literally just think about roof structures when I can't sleep, which is a lot of the nights lately.
And also what's interesting there from a developer standpoint is these are all things that were not at all part of the original calculation as to whether or not this would be a viable project.
Yeah.
So, are y'all going to build it back?
That's been a great question. And I want to explain how we answer that. We don't know the future. But we know that we've been building in downtown Laurel for 20 years. And we've been doing it not for the financial gains, because they are, as Jim explained earlier, very small. We do it
or non-existent.
Yeah, we do it because we believe in our place. We were born here. We live here. We want to make it better. That's what this has all been about for us. And so we don't have an option but to keep building. That's what we're going to do. Now, what that actually looks like, will it be steel posts or steel roof or wooden, or will we be able to? We don't know exactly. We just know that no matter what happens, that's kind of what we've been called to do in our hometown, to keep building. So that's what we're going to keep doing.
Continuing. What do we want to see? What do we want to see for downtown? What do any hometown, any town that
any small town,
that
yeah, what do you want to see?
live in? We want to see it be bustling, successful, not just.
We want our kids to stay home when they grow up, to be like, I can live here,
or at least want to come home
and visit.
And it is our responsibility to do that. To take responsibility is really it's our commitment to ourselves and our family and our community. And do I care what part of Laurel looks better than the other? No, heck no. I want it all to look great, but it takes everybody. It takes you can't just have one or two people in your community that is pulling the rope. Everybody's got to be doing their part. And I hope that for our sake, for our family's sake, for our community's sake, for everybody, I hope that we're all able to come together and continue on. as long as we can.
That is the legacy thing. Like this is where we're called. This is where we are. This is our place. It's where we've been from the beginning. And so while we're here, we're going to do all we can to make it better. That's what we're called to do. And that's not just what we're called to do in our place. It's what you're called to do in your place. Every day, legacy is made. And so the question is, what will your legacy be? What are you doing? What are you going to do to make your place better, to make your home better, to make your family better, to make your job better, wherever you are, wherever God has placed you? What are you going to do? What's your legacy going to be?
That's true.
And then Eric, our producer, he said that we were going to be too morose today. And so he said, say something funny. And I always
something funny.
I always like to think, Jim, one thing I mentioned this in one of the other episodes about what your legacy is. You're
using this as a segue.
One of those legacy moments with you is I told you that I've laughed more with you than I have with anyone else in my life. Okay. And so first, one of the things that I've seen by the fire is I've been so thankful to walk through it with you.
Same here.
I'd rather not walk through it.
I don't want to.
I don't want to do this, but I'm so thankful to do it with you. And one reason, I think it was, so Jim's office building is directly across the street. If you watch our bumper, our promo, you see how we filmed the Jim's building is literally right across the street, which means every day he would watch construction and he would ask, like, are you going to hurry up? You're going to hurry up? That's what he tormented me every day.
You were going to hurry up.
He said it with his eyes.
Specifically what was going on that day.
Line by line. And so obviously after the fire, guess what Jim has to look at every single day?
At least twice a day, because I have to go in my office and then I have to leave my office. And most days it's multiple times that I smell burnt stuff and I see the sky through windows that used to have
a beautiful ceiling,
ceiling and lighting and fixtures. And I look through the smoke charred windows and I'm going to tell you, it is tough, man. It is tough.
Eric, our producer, said to keep it lighthearted. So anyway, Jim sits there and I come into his office and the blinds are closed.
I closed the blinds. Yeah. I can't see it.
Used to. He's like the nosy neighbor looking through the blinds, wondering if I'm working hard that day.
I've got paneled walls, so it's just dark in my office all the time. But it's like I can't look out the window. I don't want to see it.
So we were sitting there, maybe it was the day after or the next day. I wouldn't say we're ambitious, but we do make plans.
No, we're ambitious.
But
we're dreamers.
We dream. We are dreamers. And so obviously I've dreamed that maybe the heirloom, Mallory's dream, Jim's dream, maybe it's not going to be just one property. Maybe it's going to be other properties. Maybe you can stay at heirlooms in other cities tied to the historic character of the city. It's one of our dreams that we have that we haven't shared until now. And so we were sitting there in Jim's office. It was very somber. It was serious. It was dark. And I'm glad it was dark because I didn't want to see the building across the street either. And Jim looked at me and said, well, we always said we wanted to build a second hotel. I just didn't think it was going to be in the same spot.
Yeah, it's true.
And in that moment of darkness, I had that levity to lift me up a little bit. And I needed it. That's what friendship is. By the way, that's a legacy mark too. Friendship does that. It mourns with you because we were probably crying the moment before. And it also lifts you up in laughter. And so I'm grateful for your friendship.
I'm grateful
for the legacy of that.
I hope wonderful success for you. And I hope that you do amazing things in the future. And I hope that I get to be a part of it. And as a business partner, I hope that all your future endeavors pay much better than the current ones, because I could really use a partner with a little more money. Right?
My wife, yeah, that's something we both thought about. I could use a better business partner with a little more money. You know, my wife.
But I sure like your attitude.
My wife has always called us break-evenaires. That's what she says of the Nowell household.
I'd take it. I'd take it.
You would take
I'd take it.
Oh goodness. A lot of people have asked, how can you help? How can we help? Which is, it's meant so much. And we had early on, like in day 1, 2, 3, the first week, we had so many people wanting to give to us from a GoFundMe. And I want to say, first of all, like, thank you. Thank you for for caring enough, understanding what a fire does to people financially. That meant and means so much to us. But our first thought would be like, find someone in your community who has suffered with fire or loss, and fund them, help them. We are grateful for that, and I think that would go a lot further in your own community. So thank you guys for offering to do that. But that would be my first recommendation on donations. Give it to people in your community who went through fire, charities or churches that you trust in your community.
If you live in a town where someone has taken the baton of community development, someone spends their free time, their weekends, whatever it may be, trying to build up your community. Maybe it's not your neighborhood. Maybe it's the other part of town that you don't spend a whole lot of time in. Find them. Call them. You got to talk to them personally and say, thank you. If there's ever anything that I can do to help, volunteer for the Pee Wee football team to deliver water. It doesn't matter. Somebody in your community is doing something that isn't paying them, that isn't building up their image in the community. They're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it for the people in your town. There's somebody there, I promise.
Yeah.
I want you to find them. I want you to find them and give them an encouraging word. And if you can't help with money, help with time. Even if it's just one small little thing, because man, those folks out there that are contributing because they feel like it's they're what they're supposed to do, they get discouraged.
Low on fumes. They run on fumes sometimes. You know?
Sometimes, absolutely. And something as little as an encouraging word from somebody that they don't even know in that town, in your town, is all that it would take to fill their tank back up.
That's right.
And so,
and that's something we can witness to that, because it's it burned, and we were there at the finish line, and my tank was empty. Even with faith, understanding God's working in it, I felt empty. I did not want to come downtown. I didn't want to do it. But by the end of day one, with the day the fire happened, because of the encouragement of our own community and then strangers who I've never met, like I was ready to start working on it again immediately that same day. That's how energized I was by that encouragement. So that's one way to participate, even if you're not able to help because of, say, physical ailments, just to encourage those people that you see that care about your community. Man, that's great advice. That's something we would mean so much, because this little town of Laurel has meant so much to so many. It's hometown, and it means so much to so many. But it really is just kind of a more public example of your own hometown.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. It's a real hometown with real problems and with, real issues, and sometimes with real policemen that have to tell people to calm down during fires.
Detain.
Oh, come on. No,
that's such a strong word.
Threatened.
Yeah.
Threatened detainment.
But real towns, real problems, real people, though, that are a part of the solution. And not everybody always gets credit for that.
Yep.
And no turtle got to the top of a fence post on its own.
Jim always says that.
And
first time I've ever heard you say that.
You see a turtle on a fence post, no, it didn't get there on its own.
That's great. That's good. Yeah.
Needed help. And so it's important to lift those up around us who are helping.
You notice that flashing light? Mississippi Power has a light pole out there. It's got a flappy light. I think the wind blows it and just.
The desk toy that goes.
Newton's Cradle. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that.
This is a kind of a new age version.
New age version. And then last thing, people have asked, how can we help you guys directly? So it means so much to us that people care about our place through media. And so we make this content. So it would mean so much if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our email, the Heirloom Family, so that you can keep up to date with what we're doing. When people watch what we're doing, it's another form of encouragement. When people actually make comments and they watch our content, whether it's hometown or down to just the podcast, and that means so much to us. So thank you guys for doing this, and we hope it's valuable. It's valuable for us for therapy. Jim and I, we were mad at each other earlier. We hadn't been talking today, and so this is our therapy time.
But I see you changed shirts, and that made me feel better.
I started at 4 a.m. and I was construction debris covered.
Oh no, you look fine. You look fine.
And then kind of a final thought. Like, so many people text me to say, "I'm praying for you." Not just I'm thinking of you, but I'm praying for you. And I know the peace that I felt early on was because of those prayers. It meant so much to me just to hear that encouragement. But I also know that that God has ordained that the saints would pray for one another. Yep. And so to have people praying for us both locally and afar, that has meant so much to us. So please keep praying. Pray that we would be able to uncover the kingdom inside of what we're doing, what really matters for the Lord Jesus Christ. That is the most important thing. That's what I live for. It's what Jim lives for. And please keep praying for us.
That's right. We'll be coming back with more updates, and we hope that you're here to hang out with us and see where we go with this thing, because
we don't know.
But it's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay.
That's right.
My mama told me so.
That is true. And that of all the things she said to you, that part is true. So
that's right.
So where did you make up the turtle on the fence post thing?
No, you never heard that.
That's pretty good.
Nobody makes up anything.